You're listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with host Doc Martin. Stay tuned in or call in. You won't want to miss what's happening next. How do you step into your maximum potential? How do you connect your spiritual drive with your physical path? Stick around as Doc Martin takes listeners on a journey through the seen and unseen, the accepted and the unbelievable. Get ready to meet the maximum you the world needs on Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin now. Hi, everybody. I'm Doc Martin. This is Maximum Medicine. So you guys know that my whole shtick is about how do we get humanity to move forward? How do we find the hope? How do we find tools? And so medicine, in my mind, is anything that helps you heal, mind, body, or spirit. And so tonight, I'm excited to have Dr. Alphonsus Obayuwana here. And he's going to tell us about his interesting background. And he wrote a book called The Happiness Formula. And we need happiness nowadays, don't we? The world has some troubles. But Dr. Obayuwana, I loved what he talked about in his book. And I'm going to have him share that with you, because he knows, he's worked it. He has studied it. He's worked it. He's seen the issues and he's honed them down. So Dr. Obayuwana, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me, please.
So Dr. Obayuwana, tell us please about your background. And I want you to tell the listeners, I'm going to digress a minute. I also believe that we carry with us the genetic memories, the biologic imprints, the genetics of our heritage, and you have a very interesting background in that regard. So I would love to hear about you today, how that led you to writing this book, and then tell us about the lineage you carry.
Thank you. I was born in Benin City, and that is the seat of government in Edo State in Nigeria. Prior to that, it used to be a kingdom, and the king of Benin is always referred to as the Oba. And my grandfather was a personal physician to the Oba. And he, of course, I say physician in the traditional sense. He was a herbalist. And I didn't get to know him. My own father is a teacher, was a teacher, and he actually taught the crown prince, who later became king, the father of the king now. So we have been very, very associated with the palace. However, for me, I went to the Catholic school called Immaculate Conception College and got into the university after primary school, of course. And when I was in the university, I made a trip to the United States for the summer. My host was an engineering student, but I saw him with an anthropology book. And I was wondering, why are you reading anthropology if you are an engineering student? And he told me in the US, first degree, you do everything, both arts and science. You can take chemistry along with psychology, along with economics, with physics. You even do swimming. And that is what I had been looking for. And I called my dad and told him I am staying. That's how I got to stay here. Because in the British system, at the age of 16, you have to choose whether you are going into the arts or the sciences. If you go into the arts, then you will never see chemistry, physics, mathematics again. And if you go into the arts, to the science, you will never see psychology, economics, English literature. But I was divided between both areas of studies, and I
You
did
wanted
not
it
want.
all.
Excuse me, please.
You wanted it all.
Yeah, I was interested. I was in the debating society, in the dramatic society. I was uh, also in science club. I was interested in chemistry and biology. So when I came here, I got my undergraduate in chemistry and biology, and then I was studying biochemistry in graduate school. It was from there that I got a scholarship or an admission uh, to do a combined MD PhD program. And that's how I got to get into medicine. Um, and while I was in medicine, after the preclinical years, you rotate through different departments. You rotate through pediatrics, through surgery, through psychiatry, and all the other branches of medicine. When I was in psychiatry, I helped to take care of two patients who were admitted for attempted suicide. And I was deeply moved, and I just became transformed into um, a hope research enthusiast. Because when I talk with these patients, the way they were feeling um, were so poignant that today is just like yesterday, and it's not better. Tomorrow is going to be the same. What's the use of living? That's exactly how they felt. And since hope is what is assumed to be lost when people try to take their life, I decided to do some research on hope. And my mentors in the medical school were very supportive. And that is how I got started in the area of studying hope.
Did you become a psychiatrist?
No, I did not become a psychiatrist. I actually was not truly interested in psychiatry. I wanted to help. I became a family physician, delivering babies, doing surgery, and all of it. However, the medicine itself, dealing with patients, and with the research that I did, um, actually, I have to get back a little bit, go back a little bit. I got a grant from NIH as a medical student to do a research on hope. And I devised a tool for measuring human hope, which was called the Hope uh, Index Scale. And it became very popular with even some Fortune 500 companies like General Motors, Coca-Cola, the Veteran Administration use it, and many academic institutions were using it. So I continue with the research as a physician all through. What happened, Dr. Martin, is that when Martin Seligman became the president of American Psychological Society, he brought the idea of positive psychology into psychology. Psychologists usually were just dealing with mental illnesses. However, Martin Seligman brought in the era of caring for ordinary people who don't have mental diseases, how they can better their life. And hence came positive psychology. And happiness was was now the thing, how to make people happy.
Mhm.
And my question to them at that time was, why all this about happiness? What about hope? Hope is what is lost when people try to commit suicide. So why are we talking about happiness only without talking about hope? So I was now interested in finding out, how is hope related to happiness? Can you have one without the other? And it was during this research that by chance, purely by chance, I came across a very simple formula, but very profound, that says hope divided by hunger equals happiness. And
So the higher the ratio, the more happy.
exactly, if you
Mhm.
are severely, overwhelmingly hungry, it's going to dampen your hope and you're going to be unhappy.
Now
But if you are
you don't mean hunger just in terms of food,
no,
okay?
hunger is any compelling desire that you
Oh,
have. And there are 5 inborn human hungers that we all have. And that is what control everything we do in life. And these hungers are the hunger for inclusion and acknowledgement. Okay. We all want to be included. We all want to be acknowledged. The
you
hunger for
know, that, Dr. O, that one is probably my biggest driving force.
beautiful.
I want to matter.
There you
I
go.
want the how I live in the world to make a difference. And so to be acknowledged by the self-satisfaction of that work
Yes.
and to get that acknowledgement back from others. That's a big thing for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mhm. Probably bigger than tell me the other ones. Yeah.
All right. There's also a hunger for intimacy and trusted companionship.
Okay,
Intimacy,
I'm going to talk about that.
trusted companionship.
I don't need 100 friends. I need a few good ones with whom I can go deeply and talk about the things in my soul.
There you go.
And that takes trust, because you have to be vulnerable to really share what's deep inside of you, don't you?
Yes,
So
definitely.
trusted is a big word there.
Beautiful. And the third hunger is the hunger for food and comfort.
Mhm.
Food and comfort, followed by hunger for information and answers. And
Like,
all
why are
this
we why are we on this earth? What is our purpose?
for
It
information.
right, like those
we-
existential answers.
Well, there are, we all have questions
Mhm.
in life.
Mhm.
Some of them are personal, some of them are general. And these are inborn. Remember now, children, they ask the most questions.
Mhm.
They are not taught how to ask questions. They just ask because there's so much to learn when they come into the world.
Mhm.
What is this, grandma? What is this, dad? What is this, and why? And they ask questions. So these are inborn human hungers. All of these that we are talking about.
Mhm.
All right. So, there's the necessity and the drive to know is there in all of us. So that's the hunger for information and answers. And
Mhm.
of course, we know when we are sick, we want to know why. We want to know the reason. We want to know how to cure it. We want to know where to go. We want to know. So we want to know a lot of things in life to make life livable. So, and the fifth one is the hunger for continuity and certainty. Continuity and certainty.
And I think that certainty and I guess continuity, where we are, the way I see our society today, at least in the United States, everything's changing. And especially with COVID, supply chain, you couldn't count on anything anymore. And you didn't have the same things you always had. Everything was in upheaval. And I see that in my patients, the older ones in particular, they are so overwhelmed by things don't go the way they used to. And it is so distressing to them. It's really got them, their ropes are frayed. But I talk to my friends a lot, our spiritual group. We talk often about having to be a ninja to be able to move from situation to situation because nothing feels stable.
Exactly.
Nothing feels the way it used to.
Exactly.
Have you seen that?
Definitely. And
Mm-hmm.
change is very difficult to handle. We want things to go on being good and staying like
Mm-hmm.
that. We want to think about tomorrow and be sure of what is going to happen tomorrow, next week, and next year.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the hungers we are born with. Okay. And
And they play out in so many arenas and situations in life, don't they?
definitely, this
Mm-hmm.
hunger control everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when you think about human civilization, these five hunger is what humanity is responding to when it created the civilization we have today.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery, scientific discovery, institutions that we created, all of them are in response to these five hungers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There
Now,
is no
some are so basic for so many parts of the world, just basic safety and living and famine. But then we get in our, by all comparison in the United States anyway, our very wealthy society. And you would think we would be comfortable and satisfied, but we are not handling all the change very well. And I think it's got us a little bit loopy. How do you see those hungers playing out, say, in today's American world?
okay. The the way that we can really understand that is to take these hungers one by one and see how.
Okay.
Um, the hunger for inclusion and acknowledgement. That's what drive us to do
Mm-hmm.
things. That's why we want to we want to study, we want to get ahead, we want to achieve, we want to have victory. That is exactly what is driving us for that. And that, of course, when we have victory, are you still seeing me? Hello?
I can still see you.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
I don't know what happened to my screen. I can't see
Okay.
myself anymore. But um, um, so when we talk about hunger for intimacy and trusted companionship, this is why we associate with others, um, because others do matter. People around us, family, human connection, relationships, Um, and of course, for food and comfort, that has to do with the economy, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the being able to provide um, food and comfort for yourself and your family. Of course, some of these hungers, there is over response to them. And some people go ahead to do things that may be illegal or unsavory or dishonest to satisfy the hunger. But the hunger per se is very, uh, very simple, very much there, is shared by all of us. Um, the hunger for information and answer, that's what education is all about. That's what the discovery, the um, um, traveling to the moon, and all the research that we are doing is
Mm-hmm.
all about finding, getting new information and finding answers. And of
And
course,
you know what's difficult, I think, about today's world is the places we might have turned to for information,
yes,
mainstream media, people don't trust it anymore. So here, when you want answers about why things are happening or natural disasters, or you have all of this conflicting and often um, erroneous information. So even that you used to rely on has been stirred up.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. That's why this formula is very important, because it helps you to take a look at life and understand it more. Okay? Because as the intensity of your hunger increases, you are going to be less and less happy.
Okay.
Unhappiness set in. And
Okay.
on at the on the denominator side, um, the on the top of the equation, hope. When your
Mm-hmm.
hope is high, in fact, a happy life is essentially a life that is full of hope. That's what a
Mm-hmm.
happy life is. If hope is not there, if you don't have the belief and the feeling that your desires are going to be accomplished, you cannot be happy. This is what, so hope over hunger equals happiness. When your hope is high and your hunger is low, then you have people who are happy. Then when people who are overwhelmed by hunger and hope is low, those are the unhappy people. And in between are people with moderate hope and moderate hunger. They are all in between there. That's why this is an instrument for measuring happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So how do we build hope? How do we maintain hope?
okay, very, very important question. As you remember, when I was giving my background, this was the
Mm-hmm.
first research that I did, even as a medical student,
Mm-hmm.
measuring hope. Okay. Hope comes from you and your five human essential assets. The assets that we have, each of us, real or anticipated, intrinsic assets, human family assets, educational assets, economic assets, and spiritual assets. These are the five assets that we have. Your intrinsic assets are your virtuous qualities, your, your signature strengths, things that you do and you do well, your self-esteem. Those are your intrinsic assets. That gives you hope. Human
Mm-hmm.
family assets, friends, family, neighbors that give you love, understanding, empathy, you get hope from that. Human family assets.
Mm-hmm.
Economic assets, what you have and how you count your blessings. No matter how destitute one is, you have many blessings to count.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your sense of economic sufficiency, not so much how much money you have in the bank, but your sense of economic sufficiency and resource adequacy gives
So,
you
in
hope.
other words, even though I don't have a lot, if I know that it'll be enough or that I'm able to get a little more when I need it, then I'm not disturbed by the number or the amount.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the richest among us, Dr. Martin, the richest
Mm-hmm.
among us is not the one who has the most money in the bank. Is the one who has the least worry about money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it. If
Mm-hmm.
you are if you have 5 million in the bank, but you want to be a billionaire, you still out there hustling and doing all kinds of things. A grandmother may be getting $500 allowance a month and is using it well and thankful to God, to whatever she believes in, being
Mm-hmm.
thankful that, hey, I'm better than many. She
Mm-hmm.
is, in fact, in terms of this equation, had more
Happier.
economic assets
Mm-hmm.
than the miserable millionaire. You've
Mm-hmm.
heard about the happy peasants and miserable millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
and it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get also your educational assets, what you know, your curiosity, your knowledge of your plight, of where you are, and spiritual assets, the relationship you have with something larger than yourself that give you assurances. So we have 5 sources of human hope and 5 inborn human hungers. If you measure your hope and you measure your hunger, you just, all you have to do mathematically, you divide it and you get your happiness score. So this is what this book says.
Mm-hmm.
And we can, people who are very high in hope and low in hunger, in the intensity of their hunger, those are the people who are flourishing. People
Mm-hmm.
who are languishing are those who have very low hope and overwhelming hunger. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
in between, you have different scores. Okay, my, for reason of disclosure, my happiness score is 2.923. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not flourishing yet, but I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We all can be happier. All of us, we all can be happier. Uh, but this is what I use in finding out my own happiness, personal happiness index. And since I know it, I know where I am in the spectrum, and I know where I want to go, and I'm working on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what this book is about.
So you talk about ways that you can boost hope.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a while.
Okay. Now, I want to point out that all these that we are talking about, they are all
Uh-huh.
in the book. Okay.
Yes,
They
the
are all,
happiness formula.
yes, they are
Mm-hmm.
all in the book. But the way to boost your hope, if you look at those assets that we talked about, where hope comes from. The first one that we talk about was your signature strengths, your intrinsic assets. Those are the assets you are born with. We all, each of us, we all have a calling. Each person has a calling. There is something special about you in an area of human endeavor that is your calling. And if you can find your calling and know your calling, that is the number one thing to do in trying to boost your hope. If you know
And to
your
be able to say to yourself, I'm always creative, so don't worry, I'll be able to come up with something. Or I'm always a hustler, and I know if I find a job, I can work hard and prove myself and rise up the ladder. So knowing your own strengths and trusting that you can call on them when things are rocky.
that's how victory gives you happiness.
Mm-hmm.
When you win, when you achieve and you accomplish, it raises your self-esteem and your hope goes up.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of the equation now,
Mm-hmm.
also, when you win and your hope goes up, you will then, your hunger for inclusion and acknowledgement, the intensity of that hunger decreases. So
Mm-hmm.
your hunger goes down, your hope goes up. And that's what gives you the happiness when you win and when you achieve, when you accomplish. You see, this is how this formula explains when you become happy or you become unhappy. It's an issue of hope and hunger. Just to let you know, let us take a human experiment that happened all over the world unknowingly. That was the COVID-19.
Yeah.
That was a human experiment that happened all over. Let me explain. Why were we all on? Why did it cause unhappiness all over the world? Let us look at this equation.
Okay.
It was issue of a decreased hope and intensify hunger. That's what this was. Hope over hunger equals happiness. For instance, self-esteem was down, intrinsic assets, human family assets because of distancing and not visiting grandparents, not going to gatherings, no wedding. Human family assets were decreasing. Economic assets, of course, were decreasing because people were off job and they were not able to provide for the family, and because many places were closed, right? And education, of course, school was closed, and we were all looking for information. We didn't know how long the pandemic was going to be, how we take care of it, how we cure it. There were so many questions. Even the incubation, how soon can we get vaccine? Then, of course, spiritual assets were down because even worship was discontinued, right? People were not going to church.
And our continuity and certainty were blown up.
Exactly. Now let's come to, now we are talking about the hunger. Hunger for certainty and um, certainty and continuity became more intensive. So hunger went up. Okay? Your hunger for food and comfort went up. Okay? Or hunger for information and answers intensified. You see, so when you look at COVID and how it caused unhappiness, it was an issue of decreased hope and intensify hunger. That's exactly what this book is saying. And in it is, how do you increase your hope? How do you decrease your hunger? How do you measure it? What do you do to get a flourishing life and sustain it? Yeah. So this is a book that took 3 decades to gather information to make it real.
You did a good job. It's a good book.
Thank you so much.
So let's take we have maybe about 10 minutes left. Let's talk about the specific steps that people can take to achieve more happiness. You listed, I have written down here 7 of them. Can we go through those to finish up?
Definitely. The thing that I want people to take away is, look at this formula. Hope over hunger equals happiness. So if you want more happiness, let's learn how to increase your hope and decrease your hunger. If you are a happiness coach, that's what you have to do for your clients. How to increase their hope, decrease their hunger. So happiness, as you know, happiness is what is being used by many countries now to see how the country is doing. More so than GDP. How happy the citizens are is a better measure of how a country is actually doing. More so than GDP. So that's what many countries are starting to use. So
what country's winning right now?
There's something called the World Happiness Report.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And they release it every March.
Okay.
They just released one, March 20th.
Okay.
And Finland.
I was going to say Norway. Okay.
It's Finland.
Okay.
That for the past 7 years, has been number 1.
Wow.
Okay, followed by Denmark.
Okay.
Then followed by Sweden.
Okay.
Followed by, and you're going to be surprised at this.
Okay.
By Israel. And then Netherlands. However, let me just tell you, the way they are finding it, the way they are detecting it and classifying them is very erroneous.
So the way they've collected the data and made their judgments,
exactly,
they're missing.
Very erroneous. For instance, Finland had a very high suicide rate. How can you be the happiest country in the world and have a very high suicide rate? The use of antidepressant in Finland is one of the highest in Europe. Okay.
Somehow their measuring gauge is off, isn't it?
Exactly. You know what they are doing? They are just asking 1,000 people in each country, how satisfied with your life are you? And you are supposed to rank between 0 to 10. 0 for the worst possible imaginable life, 0, and the worst than the best possible life possible for you by experience is 10. And people choose numbers. And what they do, some people will choose 7, some will choose 8, some will choose 9, and they find out the average for each country. Finland has the average for that 1,000 people they interview in Finland. They had the average of 7.86. Denmark has the average of 7.62.
Not very different.
And Iceland has the level of 7.54. Israel has the level of 7.4. See, but just asking people how satisfied are you with your life is very poorly informative.
Okay.
Very poorly informative, is very simplistic and hugely rudimentary. Because those questions actually does not measure happiness. It's not. In the East, in the Eastern culture, when you self-rate yourself, you are told to be modest, even when you are self-rating yourself. In the West, it's not unusual to be boastful when you are self-rating yourself. So in the West, somebody might say 9. In the East, an Asian might say 6.
So there's a whole cultural backdrop that wasn't considered.
Exactly.
Right.
And also, some people will look at the question in a political sense. Some see it as a patriotic issue and will rate it 9 or 10 for patriotic reasons.
Yeah.
And others will see it as a chance to complain about the government and will rate it a 4, 3. You know, so it's not, this is a method such as the happiness formula is what they need to use. And in happiness formula, you can, in fact, if you test 100 people, you rarely you get 2 people with the same score. Rarely. So it's a wide, broad screen. A broader, rather than 0 to 10, it has a broader spectrum. You know, so that is what I have to say about the
World
so-called
Happiness
happiest country in the world.
Yeah. We won't pay attention to that anymore. So I don't want to run out of time. Let's talk about the 7 things to sustain a life of hope.
Okay.
Because we only have about 8 minutes left.
Okay. As you know, let me just get it and read it out to you.
Well, I will tell you, I have it written down here,
all
and
right.
then I'll put my little kind of new age words on it.
All right.
The first step is to choose hope over despair.
Okay. That is basically telling you to look at this equation. Hope over hunger equals happiness. So think about increasing your hope. Okay.
And I would extend that in a more practical way in your day-to-day life choices. For each choice you make, choose well-being.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You are right on the money. But I'm just saying, I'm just starting step by step.
Right. I'm adding to it.
Yeah. You and your addition is very right. Okay. Now,
okay, let's go to first, 2. I don't want to run out of time.
Okay,
so let's
first,
go to 2.
Find your calling.
Okay.
And in the book, you are shown how to find your true calling. It's in the book. Once you know your true calling, do something about it each day.
Mhm.
Your true calling. All right. And that is an exercise, a daily routine you should do. Number 2, count your blessings. These are things you're going to do to increase your hope now. Count your blessings. Because no matter how destitute you are luckier than you think.
Practice gratitude.
Exactly. Then be nice to people. Be considerate of others. So you have a larger pool of well-wishers to also wish you well and cooperate with you and empathize with you. Learn something new every day, no matter how small. So that's going to increasing your educational assets. See, we are increasing your human family assets, your intrinsic assets, your educational assets, your economic assets. That in your economic asset, that's how you are counting your blessings to actually appreciate what you have. And then the spiritual assets, very, very important. Right? Make a decision about God. Whether you believe in God or not, make a decision about it. And think about how you could be helped. What kind of assurance and reassurances you get by believing in something larger than yourself. Whether it's God, Yahweh, Allah, or any omnipotent cosmic force or being that makes you...
Or nature, the forces
nature.
of nature.
Exactly. So those are the 5 ways, take time to review all of these and enjoy it and live. Don't be so much after the destination. Be about the moment and do it. Okay? And pay attention to your soul.
Beautiful. So we're going to finish up here. Dr. Alphonsus Obayuwana, author of The Happiness Formula, and his website is www.triplehproject.com. And as you can see, he has studied this for decades. He's got the tricks of how to increase your ratio, so your hope over hunger, so more hope, less hunger, more happiness. Dr. Obayuwana, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It was so nice to meet you and have you talk about this.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Martin.
All right. Thank you. You've been listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin. Tune in next time while the doc talks health, spirituality, and the impact your beliefs have on every part of who you are, body and soul. Doc Martin unpacks the challenges we face as human beings and teaches callers to open the door between the scientific and the mystical. To learn more about Doc Martin and Maximum Medicine, visit www.sharonmartinmd.com.